Good afternoon. We begin with new developments in the unprecedented railway work stoppage.
A defiant union is pushing back after the federal government announced it would impose binding arbitration. The head of the Teamsters union spoke a short time ago from Calgary.
And you make that decision suddenly that, okay, guys, we have to force you back to work. And as far as we are concerned, this is not acceptable. The best way to have a contract is at the bargaining table. We don't believe to let a third party to decide what's going to be our working condition. This strike continue as far as we are concerned. We notify the CN and CP of a strike notice, and we will use our constitutional right to fight this the company here. So we are here, and we're going to stay here.
The unprecedented work stoppage at both Canadian National Railway and Canadian Pacific Kansas City prompted the Labour Minister to ask the Industrial Relations Board Thursday to use the mechanism to resolve an impasse. Pressure from industry groups and provincial governments to resolve the conflict has been mounting for weeks. The rail companies haul a combined $1 billion in goods each day, according to the Railway Association of Canada. And CTV's John Musselman has been monitoring the impact here at home and joins us live with the latest. John.
Well, Nathan, we thought this was over yesterday with the binding arbitration order, but as you can see behind me, pickets are still up at this rail yard in Agent Court. Now, we'll show you some video this morning. This continued work stoppage has caused computer problems as well for people on the Milton line and the Hamilton GO station. Again, this morning, they had no options to using that service because of what's happening here. And the fact of the matter is, Teamsters members who would be used as operators on those lines aren't available, so they couldn't guarantee safety. That's why those lines are not in operation. Again, as you mentioned, 9,000 were locked out yesterday. The Labour Minister ordered a back-to-work order, but we spoke to the Teamsters local rep here this morning saying they're not going back until they're ordered to by the Canadian Industrial Relations Board, and it appears, as we heard earlier from the Teamsters Union in Calgary, they're challenging all of that. Here's what commuters had to say, and the union rep told us just a short time ago.
Luckily, the GO people have arranged a good train for us, a bus service, shuttle service from Cooksville to here, so that's how we have come. Otherwise, we would have to go back home. So that's a very good part on the GO.
It takes like a to and back from work. Like it takes extra like hour and 15 minutes or so. Yeah, we have to work with the workers. Like also they have their genuine demands, and whatever hopefully the settlement comes sooner to their satisfaction.
The minister put forward a referral to the CIRB to. He had 3 points that he wanted to put forward. One is ending the work stoppage, sending us back to work. The other one is continuing our collective agreements and enforcing binding interest arbitration. But we do not return to work until our GCs tell us to, and the CIRB actually issues the order. So that's why we're still out here on strike.
And after hearing from the union reps in Calgary, it sounds like it won't be anytime soon before these picket lines come down. Again, if you're using the GO line, the Milton line, you'll have to look for alternatives today because it doesn't look like those will be moving today at least anyway. Reporting live from the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. In other news, 2 drivers are recovering from serious injuries after a crash in Aurora. The CTV News chopper was over the scene this morning on Bathurst Street between Wellington and Kennedy Street West. With significant damage to be seen to both vehicles, police put the word out about the crash at around 8:30, asking motorists to avoid the area. They closed Bathurst both ways for the investigation. The roadway later reopened around 11:30.
A 22-year-old from Brampton is dead following a crash on the 401 last night near Pearson Airport. Emergency crews responded to the westbound lanes of the highway west of Renforth just before 8:30 p.m. A car crashed into a light pole in the grass median. The driver died at the scene. The highway was closed for several hours for the investigation.
And Toronto police are searching for 4 suspects after a Liberty Village shop was set on fire last week. It happened just before 4 a.m. on August 14th near East Liberty Street and Hannah Avenue. This security footage captured the moment a suspect smashed the storefront window with an object. Then 3 suspects throw Molotov cocktails, setting the store ablaze. The 3 suspects were wearing black clothing. Police are also looking for a man who was on a bike. Police believe he was a lookout. He was wearing a dark blue hoodie, black face mask, black pants, and blue gloves, and was carrying a red gym bag. No injuries were reported in this fire, but anyone with information is asked to contact police.
Still ahead, Kamala Harris officially becomes her party's nominee for President of the United States. We get more on the final night of the Democratic National Convention coming up a little later in the newscast.
But first, let's take a look outside. It is Friday. We have sunshine. We have warmth. This is what you want on a Friday in the summer. Let's bring in Jessica Smith with all the sunny and warm details. Jess.
That high pressure really has settled in quite nicely, and as we step into the weekend, temperatures are going up, the humidex is returning, and we have a very summer-like forecast as we step in towards one of the final weekends of August. Now, temperature-wise, we're still kind of in that low to mid-20 range, but the humidex values are climbing just a little, feeling a little closer to the mid to upper 20s around the Golden Horseshoe. And we're looking at a wind direction change really helping to make it feel a little toastier out there. Temperature-wise, we're sitting at 22 through the islands, a little warmer over towards Pearson, but the humidity is significantly higher than it was yesterday, and we're going to continue to see it rise as we head into the next 2 or 3 days. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect for your weekend here at home or up at the cottage. Right now, back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jess. The province has announced new construction projects on the 401 stretch in Oshawa. The Ontario government is replacing the Oshawa-Wilson Road overpass, which it says will lay the groundwork to widen the 401. The government says this is important because the population here is growing and it hopes to reduce commute times. Construction has already started on the project, which includes installing taller light poles, noise barrier upgrades, and sidewalks.
Whether it's to get to work, visit friends and family, or transport goods, the 401 is a critical artery for the people across the GTA. As Durham's population grows, we will need to continue to invest in the new roads, bridges, highways, and public transit needed to improve the community for everyone.
In addition to replacing the Wilson Road overpass, the province is also replacing Simcoe and Albert Street underpasses in Oshawa and rehabilitating overwater bridges in Clarington and Bowmanville.
As the province moves ahead with plans to close 10 safe consumption sites, it's raising questions about the potential deadly impact.
And whether the move could be considered unconstitutional. CTV's John Woodward has the details.
The supervised consumption site at South Riverdale Community Health Centre reverses about 4 overdoses a week, records show, as deadly drugs continue to circulate.
About 22 people in Canada are dying of an opioid overdose per day.
It's under 200 meters to the nearest school, so the consumption site here will be shut down under new rules announced by the provincial government. Among 5 such sites in Toronto and 10 across the province facing closure, spurred by a shooting in 2023, a mom of 2 struck by a stray bullet. The province's plan turned these sites into treatment hubs, but without the harm reduction measures.
And we'll see more overdose deaths, which means that our emergency services will be running around in circles trying to save people's lives across the city.
Exactly how many? New figures obtained by CTV News offer a clue. The 5 Toronto centres helped clients survive over 5,600 overdoses in a 4-year period. That works out to just over 3.6 a day. Across the province, the 10 sites helped clients survive more than 9,000 overdoses in the same time period. That's just under 6 a day. A starting estimate for how many more may die, says researcher Gillian Kalla.
If we cut supervised injection sites and supervised consumption sites in the province of Ontario, there will be increases in fatal overdose rates.
Federal figures also show the sites refer over 100 users a day to treatment, people who may otherwise be hard to reach.
It's going to face an uphill battle if there's a court challenge.
Lawyer Mike Fetter represented an intervener in a court case fighting the shutdown of the first supervised injection site in North America, Vancouver's Insight. Ultimately, Canada's Supreme Court found the attempt unconstitutional because it wasn't based in evidence.
If you're going to cut people off from something that reduces, the risk of disease and death, you better have an evidence-based explanation.
In a statement, a staffer for Ontario's health minister said open taxpayer-funded drug consumption should not be happening on the same block as schools and daycares. Yesterday's action will help protect the public, especially for our most vulnerable, Ontario's children, even if it may make lives for Ontario's drug users much more dangerous. John Woodward, CTV News.
The federal government is restricting the sales of flavored nicotine pouches. Starting next week, it will be illegal for gas stations and convenience stores to sell them.
First thing is these flavors, tropical punch and fruity breeze. I mean, these aren't marketed to you and I, right? These are going after kids so they can get them addicted and be consumers for their whole lives.
It's part of Ottawa's measures to reduce youth access to nicotine products. They'll only be sold at pharmacies with all flavors except mint and menthol banned. Restrictions will also be placed on labels for all nicotine replacement therapies such as lozenges and gums. Manufacturers will have a 6-month grace period to alter packaging to include warnings about addiction and the health risks. Well, the top of the ballot is officially set for the U.S. presidential election less than 3 months from now.
On the final night of the Democratic National Convention, Vice President Kamala Harris officially accepted her party's nomination for the top job. Harris went out onto the stage in Chicago to accept the nod and become the first Black and South Asian woman to lead a major party ticket south of the border. Harris, of course, took over as Democratic nominee after U.S. President Joe Biden announced he wouldn't stay in the race for re-election. He indicated he was doing so because of concerns around what a second Trump presidency would look like. Harris, who has highlighted her past work as a prosecutor, leaned in on that message in her address.
Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution.
Harris also outlined promises to protect access to abortion and called for a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza. Political analysts say the stage has been set for the campaign to only get more intense.
And of course, her searing attacks on Donald Trump, they certainly elevated and energized that crowd of supporters and Democrats that were in that convention center. And I think the takeaway from this is now, not only is this going to be a sprint to November, but this is going to be a back and forth race that we're going to see between these two candidates.
For his part, Donald Trump said he felt Harris's speech was short on good ideas. He also repeated his claim he's not associated with a conservative policy document called Project 2025, outlining policy priorities if he returns to the Oval Office.
And while Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are leading the majority or major party tickets, there's been a development with a third-party candidate that could upend the U.S. presidential campaign. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has removed his name from the ballot in the swing state of Arizona. Kennedy's polling numbers have been in the low single digits recently, and allies of Donald Trump have been urging him to drop out and endorse the Republican. It remains to be seen what the polls will look like closer to Election Day, but with many states showing Trump and Harris neck and neck, Kennedy's vote share or withdrawal could have an impact on who ends up in the White House.
Looking overseas, fighting and shelling resumed in central Gaza today. Tank shelling and gunfire could be heard in the area of Deir el-Balah as mediators continue to push for a ceasefire deal that would end the 10-month war between Hamas and Israel. Israel's military has said it's keeping up the fight against Hamas and other militants. A Palestinian civil defense spokesperson said 24 people were killed by Israeli military strikes throughout Thursday.
Also today, Israel's military released footage of an airstrike in southern Lebanon, saying it showed the destruction of a Hezbollah terrorist cell. The Iran-linked group has been exchanging fire with Israel since Hamas's October 7th attacks last year, and there's been an increased intensity in recent weeks. The deadly tensions along the Israeli-Lebanese border have also prompted concerns a wider conflict could break out if the situation doesn't calm down.
As intense fighting continues between Russia and Ukraine, India's Prime Minister visited Kyiv today to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky called Modi's visit to Ukraine historic. During the meeting, Modi affirmed India's commitment to making proactive contributions towards peace efforts. The two leaders also visited a memorial honoring the children killed in the conflict with Russia. Modi's visit to Ukraine comes just weeks after his trip to Russia, which received global criticism.
At least 14 people are dead after a bus drove off a highway in Nepal. Local officials say at least 16 others are hurt, and several more are believed to be missing. The bus was carrying dozens of Indian pilgrims and fell about 150 meters off the highway. Police and army rescuers helped pull people from the wreckage about 120 kilometers west of the capital city, Kathmandu. Bus crashes in Nepal are mostly due to poorly maintained roads and vehicles, and much of the country is covered by mountains with narrow roads.
In South Korea, 7 people are dead, 12 hurt after a fire at a hotel last night. This happened in a 9-story property just west of the capital, Seoul. Officials say it started in an unoccupied room and didn't spread very fast, but there were no sprinklers present. The flames then sent toxic smoke, which quickly filled the building's upper floors.
Millions of people are still displaced amid deadly flooding in Bangladesh and India. Nearly 3 million people have been affected by the flooding in Bangladesh, which has plunged hundreds of homes underwater, leaving residents stranded on rooftops. The country's disaster management ministry said Army and Navy personnel are evacuating people by boat with the help of volunteers.
Lava continued to spew from a volcano in southwestern Iceland today. This is the 6th time since December this volcano has erupted. CTV's Scott Hurst is standing by with more on this situation. He joins us now. Scott, what are the latest developments here?
Michelle, really a striking display of Earth's power. Whether it's the 1st or 6th time, it is still incredible to watch, obviously from afar, potentially dangerous getting up close. That is why emergency officials have taken immediate precautions once this started to erupt once again. It began late last night and continues today, although at much less intensity. The volcano in southwestern Iceland back at it, putting on this incredible display. Fountains of glowing molten rock seen shooting into the night sky. The latest eruption beginning with the same force as the most recent eruption, but then has since slowed. This, as you said, is the 6th eruption since December. The fissure in the volcano expanded to about 5 kilometers during the day, up from about just under 4 kilometers when it first erupted Thursday night. Now, footage filmed of this shows the glowing red-hot lava spewing from a crack in the earth and plumes of smoke, Michelle, billowing around it.
The images truly are apocalyptic, something to see. What are the experts saying? Because in certain parts of the world like this one, volcanoes erupting, it's not necessarily unusual. Should there be concerns here?
Michelle, of course, this is an area that is smaller than Newfoundland, but has more than 30 active volcanoes, so it is nothing new, but there are precautions that needed to be taken immediately, including the evacuation of a nearby luxury spa, a very popular destination for international tourists, known as the Blue Lagoon. It forced out about 1,300 visitors, and it remains closed today. That is guests and staff in total. Gas pollution from the eruption could be carried through the wind. That is what the Meteorological Society warned. But the nearby fishing village of Grindavik, which had largely already been emptied out because of the previous eruptions, this time it's not directly affected. And of course, they've already set up land barriers to ensure that lava does not make it to the town. But in this case, it is not being directly affected by this most recent eruption. And I should point out as well, Michelle, air travel from the capital city of Reykjavik not impacted with this latest eruption either.
CTV's Scott Hurst live in the CTV National Newsroom. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Michelle.
Take care. Jess.
Well, it's a beautiful day to round out the week. We have the sunshine, the heat, a perfect forecast for getting out and enjoying all that the summer has to offer as we head into one of the last weekends of the summer season before kids return back to school. The CNE is looking pretty nice today, but it will be pretty humid out there. So factor in hydration, whether it's one of those pickle-flavored drinks or just regular water. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including what you can expect for the weekend, whether you're sticking around, staying in the city, or heading out of town. All those details after the break.
Remember the weather last weekend? Well, all that heavy rainfall caused the King's Plate to be postponed, and the event is back on today.
The gates have opened ahead of the first race. CTV's Mike Walker is at Woodbine Racetrack with more. Mike.
Well, the weather is definitely on their side today. The final preparations are being made to the track right now. I was here covering the King's Plate last Saturday, and I can tell you it was a washout. Now, as you mentioned, the gates opened just a short time ago. People are slowly making their way into the grandstands here, and they are excited for take two. Now, despite this being a scaled-down version of the King's Plate, many people are still dressed for the occasion, donning fascinators. Now, in addition to the King's Plate race, which has a $1 million purse, there are 4 other stake races that were also rescheduled to today. Now, the heavy rain on Saturday forced Woodbine to postpone the 165th running of the King's Plate halfway through the card due to safety concerns for the horses and jockeys. Woodbine Entertainment also had to issue refunds to ticket holders, and as a result has made admission to the grandstand today free. Here's more.
Last weekend was supposed to be the weekend, but it is what it is, so we're going to celebrate today, and I'm all dressed up for round 2, and hope it's good, and the weather is nice than last weekend, so hope we're up for a good race.
It was disappointing for the staff, for the horses, like, and the jockeys, the owners. You know, for us, it gave us a second day.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously a lot of work goes into planning something as big as the King's Plate, and we huddled together and said, I mean, obviously we still want to run the race. This race has not been not run in 165 years, you know. We haven't missed. We've survived world wars. We survived the pandemic. We survived the Depression. You know, there's no way we weren't going to run the race.
Now, the racing starts here just after 1 o'clock. The King's Plate, which is the first of Canada's Triple Crown, is scheduled to get underway just after 5:30 this afternoon. Reporting live at Woodbine Racetrack, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. It's funny, I was thinking the Queen's Plate. It's the King's Plate.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah.
And it's such a great event. I've been to it before. Were you there in all the rain?
I was there last weekend. You could see it coming, you could feel it coming, and we knew it was going to rain, but it was quite intense, specifically in that area. And it goes to show you, because I had friends who were downtown who didn't see any rain, and people who were out at the races getting a little waterlogged. But nice to see that it's taking place again. And if you have your fascinator, I mean, I might just wear it, you know, just because it was fun. But the weather is so much better as we head in towards the day today. Such a difference as we head in towards this weekend. So if you're heading out to do anything, it is going to be beautiful outside. Weather is brought to you by the Presser Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. It has been stunning outside to get the day started. It's still a little fresh this morning if you were up early on, but overall it's significantly more warmer day, sunnier day, and we're just holding on to this high pressure and the more southerly wind that's going to continue to help warm things up. So whether you're heading out to the King's Plate, the CNE, you got a boat, you're going on the water, whatever you want to do, it is going to be the picture-perfect summer day. Now, the humidity is going to continue to rise as we head in towards the rest of the weekend. So today is kind of that perfect in-between. We're sitting at 25, it feels like 28, and overall we're seeing a significantly warmer kind of midpoint to our day. Kind of a southwesterly wind helping in that and fairly moderate throughout the day. And we'll see a daytime high right around that seasonal mark at 26, feeling like 29, maybe 30. And then as we step through the rest of the weekend, it gets warmer and warmer. So if you like the heat, it returns just in time for your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Into this evening, pretty much spot on for seasonal as we head through the overnight, and that's the same almost right across the board. So much more comfortable for those who are maybe feeling a little too cool in the evening hours. There's really not much going on in the way of any active weather. A bit of a cold front making its way through northern Ontario, some scattered showers up there, but we're still keeping dry thanks to those areas of high pressure that will keep any active weather at bay. As we head throughout the afternoon, a few light clouds out there, but overall really beautiful. And into the evening, again, a very clear night. And as we step in towards the start of our weekend, temperature-wise, it gets pretty warm as we head throughout the weekend. Those humidex values climbing into the mid-30s. A few light clouds throughout your Saturday and into your Sunday as well, but really nothing in the way of organized active weather for us here in the GTA or Southern Ontario. Maybe the odd spotty shower, but really it's pretty high level stuff that might not even reach us. As we head in towards a brand new week, we're looking at a lot of sunshine out there as well. So it is just a whole lot of high pressure, a whole lot of sunshine and humidity, all the H's. But we're sitting at 26 as we head throughout the day today, 15 for the low. It feels a little warmer as we head into the afternoon, so take that into account. Whether you're staying local, you're going up to a cottage, whatever it is you want to do. Your Saturday and Sunday, a few, again, light clouds out there. And then as we step in towards Monday and really right throughout the next week ahead, we are at or above seasonal. So if you've missed that heat that we were kind of lacking through the beginning of the week, that fresh feeling, it returns and then some as we head throughout the next 5 to 7 days. So it is dry, it is hot, it is sunny, and I will take it. Michelle, I'll send things back over to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
If you're feeling financial pressure, you're not alone. A new survey from Food Banks Canada is serving up insight into the struggles caused by rising costs. We'll have more of the data after the break. New polling shows more than a third of Canadians don't believe their finances are on the right track. Food Banks Canada says 35% of those surveyed report feeling worse off financially than they did 3 months ago. 47% of them have incomes below $50,000 a year, and 43% identify as visible minorities, and 42% are millennials. Food Banks Canada is calling on the government to introduce a groceries and essentials benefit aimed at helping those struggling with food and housing costs. Another recent survey of Ontario students shows big jumps in the use of cough medications and other drugs for non-medical purposes.
And the group Drugs Free Canada says parents can help avoid this by properly disposing of unused drugs. Health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
According to Drug Free Kids Canada, about 11% of high school students admit using prescription or over-the-counter medications to get high in the past 12 months.
And when we push further, we know that 55% of them got those from home. So it's not so much buying it off the street. They can go into the family medicine cabinet.
There's also the danger of little children mistaking pills or edibles for candy.
So we encourage parents to start even as soon as they have toddlers in the house, just in terms of really raising awareness around you're not supposed to be taking medication that's not prescribed for you. For example, flavored vitamins are not candy.
Drug Free Kids Canada and the Health Products Stewardship Association are promoting a special event. Families across Canada are encouraged to collect their unwanted or expired medications or supplements and bring them to a Rexall location or other pharmacy on Friday, August 30th, which is International Overdose Awareness Day.
So you can bring in creams and ointments, leave those in their original container, and if there's a prescription direction on it, take a blackout marker so that you protect your personal information. Pills, loose pills, both prescription, over-the-counter, vitamins, they can go in a Ziploc bag.
Terry Drover says the medications will be safely collected and incinerated.
Some of these incinerators are also waste to energy, so it produces energy to run other facilities like hospitals. So it ensures that it's not making it into our water systems, which is very important.
And if you can't make it for August 30th, organizers say not to worry. You can drop off your unwanted medications at any pharmacy on any day. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The spread of Mpox remains a public health concern here in Toronto and around the world, but access to vaccinations appears to be an ongoing issue in our city. CTV's Natalie Johnson reports.
In the Meds Expert Pharmacy on Queen West, pharmacist Michael Fanous has been encouraging eligible patients to get immunized against Mpox. But has been frustrated to find that the clients who are trying to follow that advice are having a hard time booking that vaccination.
We're unable to get any vaccine for our clients, and so this is incredibly frustrating that we will refer clients out to public health and then they can't find any supply there either. Or they will go to the websites that we provide for public health and find no appointment slots.
1 week after adding more appointments to their Metro Hall clinic, the Toronto Public Health site for booking the Mpox vaccine once again reads no appointments available. A spokesperson telling CTV News in a statement, vaccine supply and availability are not a concern. However, there are operational considerations that are being monitored and responded to. They say 155 appointments have been booked over 3 upcoming clinics, and that more slots will be added.
It's important that people get vaccinated, and I think public health needs to do due diligence and to make sure that we have more spaces for people to have the opportunity to get vaccinated.
It comes as the count of Mpox cases in Toronto climbs, though none involve the new strain that is circulating in Africa.
Certainly more cases than last year, so not under control, not at a point of crisis of uncontrolled spread. I think that there is a really strong ability, again, with engagement from the community and the public health infrastructure to really suppress those cases further, and that's what we should aim for.
Officials say eligible Torontonians may have more luck accessing the Mpox vaccine at sexual health centres. Fanu says their pharmacy has the setup and willingness to administer the shots if only they were given supply to do it.
It is frustrating as a healthcare provider to give the advice, to advise clients to take preventative measures, and then when they come back and are unable to find it, it's a lot harder to engage people in care when the system itself is not providing the care that we need.
Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And while Canada has seen a summer COVID wave, officials are turning their focus to fall and winter when case counts usually climb. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved updated COVID vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna. They target a type of the Omicron variant similar to the one driving infections right now. Health Canada's review is still underway, but health experts strongly advise that those at higher risk from COVID to get the new shots when available.
The Toronto Zoo announced the death of a red panda who recently gave birth to 2 cubs. 10-year-old Sakura died this week from an apparent cardiac arrest. Her death comes just 3 weeks after one of her cubs died. Sakura moved to the Toronto Zoo from the Greater Vancouver Zoo earlier this year for retirement. When she arrived, the zoo staff were surprised to learn she was pregnant. Red pandas are an endangered species with less than 10,000 left in the wild.
Lionsgate has recalled the new trailer for Francis Ford Coppola's upcoming film Megalopolis because of new revelations of fabricated quotes from critics.
The studio is apologizing and admitting, quote, "We screwed up." CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson reports on the fallout and the potential role of AI.
True genius is often misunderstood.
The new trailer for Francis Ford Coppola's film Megalopolis, a sci-fi epic starring Adam Driver set in a decaying modern America, suggests critics are getting it all wrong.
Critics have been saying, it's so weird, it's too long, we don't understand what this movie is.
The trailer compiles quotes from some of the greatest names in film criticism, bashing Coppola flicks that are now considered classics.
The Godfather and Apocalypse Now among them, and say, hey, look, the critics got it wrong about those. They must also be getting it wrong about Megalopolis.
Instead, what's wrong is the trailer itself. The quotes from the likes of the late Roger Ebert are either taken out of context or false, made up.
This illustrates the almost limitless stupidity of some people who believe that they can use artificial intelligence tools without detection.
Distributor Lionsgate isn't admitting what happened, but curious ChatGPT users asking the AI software to generate critical Coppola quotes are coming up with eerily similar fake results.
If you are going to use artificial intelligence to cheat on anything, whether it's an exam or whether it's quotes in a movie trailer, you can and will be caught.
Lionsgate is apologizing to the director and his production company. We offer our sincere apologies to the critics involved and to Francis Ford Coppola and American Zoetrope for this inexcusable error in our vetting process. We screwed up. We are sorry. The film was actually self-financed by Coppola, a passion project decades in the making. Megalopolis premieres in North America next month at the Toronto International Film Festival. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Canadian stocks traded in record territory today after Ottawa moved to end this week's rail stoppage.
Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Toronto's benchmark stock index rose 1% to top 23,330 this morning, on course for a record high close. Ottawa's plan to end the Labour stoppage paralysing rail freight removes a threat to revenue and profit at companies across the country. All major stock groups were higher. And U.S. stocks also rose. Federal Reserve Chief Jay Powell says, quote, the time has come to lower interest rates. He called the slowdown in the labor market, quote, unmistakable. The S&P 500 index is now down only around 1% from its mid-July peak. And finally, uranium stocks jumped. Investors hope prices will be lifted by weaker than expected uranium production by Kazakhstan's state-owned miner, Kazatomprom. One market watcher said, quote, this brings the entire production curve guidance down for several years. Denison Mines soared 17% in Toronto, and Cameco rose 6%. And on the demand side, China approved 11 new nuclear reactors this week. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
Two trains collided overnight in eastern Colorado, spilling fuel and injuring two conductors. Police in Boulder say the crash destroyed a rail bridge and knocked down trees, but there was no additional damage to the community. Authorities also believe the fuel spill did not make its way into nearby Boulder Creek. Several roads were closed overnight near the crash, but they were reopened by daybreak.
A major oil field services company has suffered a cyber attack that forced it to take its systems offline. Haliburton plays a key role in maintaining the supply of oil and natural gas. In a filing, the company said it became aware Wednesday that an unauthorized third party had gained access to some of its systems. It says it implemented a cybersecurity response plan, and that included taking systems offline to protect them while notifying law enforcement. Haliburton hasn't said who was behind the hack or if a ransom was demanded. Well, if you plan to attend a basketball game, a music festival, or a theater show, chances are you'll buy your tickets online.
Many people use Google to find tickets, but if you do, watch out you don't pay more for them than you need to. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
I am the will. I am the will. There is a production of Something Rotten taking place at the Stratford Festival. Catherine Quinn enjoys theater and decided to buy 2 tickets to see the show. She used Google to find them.
I believed I was on the Stratford Festival website. I ordered tickets. I gave them my credit card.
Quinn paid $39 for the tickets, but when she got her credit card statement, she was shocked to be charged $283. Quinn purchased them through a reseller called Go Tickets. She did receive the tickets in time for the show, but had no idea about the additional exorbitant charges.
You have to be very vigilant. You have to make sure you're on the official website. It's very easy to go into these third-party websites.
There's a lot of unethical, shady behavior that's going on that unfortunately is allowed under the law.
Consumer Reports says some ticket resellers pay a fee to Google to pop up first in their search engine, so the first choice you see may not always be the best option. Buyers need to take their time and triple check to make sure they're on the proper website so they don't pay additional fees they don't need to.
They have to avoid the scammers and people who are selling counterfeit tickets, but you also don't want to overpay for the tickets that you're getting. And so your best protection for that is really to go to the actual venue itself.
CTV News reached out to Go Tickets but did not receive a response. Quinn wanted to warn others to be careful when buying tickets online.
It's my own fault. It's so easy to hit something that says Go Tickets.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
As shoppers continue to feel the pinch of grocery store prices, Loblaw is trying out a new business model.
The retailer is introducing a new ultra-discount, no-name grocery store in Ontario. CTV's Natalie Van Roy has the details.
Shoppers will soon have the option to find more discounts.
It's easier that way. People, spend money and like to save a buck or a few.
There's a new ultra-discount grocery store coming to Brockville, bringing relief for shoppers struggling to keep up with the cost of food.
We need a break on the groceries. A lot of your paycheck goes towards groceries. And I mean, my kids are grown now and we still struggle. So I can't even imagine for families with young children.
Loblaw is piloting the first 3 no-name stores across Ontario, with locations set to open in Windsor, St. Catharines and Brockville.
We really need that nowadays. It definitely makes you second guess as to what you can and cannot buy nowadays.
But there will be some major changes. The stores will have limited hours and only be open from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. There will be less product available and no refrigerated food like dairy or fresh meat. 2/3 of products will be under $5 and 60% of products will be no name or President's Choice brands. There will also be no flyers. The company says prices at the store will be up to 20% cheaper than comparable products at other discount retailers.
They've taken out a lot of operating costs that you'd normally have in a discount store.
The stores will sell a small range of frozen items, along with pantry staples, household necessity, and some bakery and produce items. The Brockville location set to open the last week in October.
Well, it's always a good idea if the prices really are discounted continuously, not just specials.
Loblaw says the location will have no self-checkouts and the stores will be smaller in size. Natalie Van Roy, CTV News, Brockville.
The Toronto Blue Jays opened a series with the Los Angeles Angels last night.
And a high drive to left field. And this ball is gone!
The Jays scored 5 runs in the second inning to open up a big lead. The Angels fought back in the 9th inning, but the Jays hung on for the 5-3 win. The two teams meet again tonight, just after 7.
The Metro Toronto Convention Centre is brimming with colorful characters as Fan Expo returns for another year. The 4-day festival is the largest comic, sci-fi, horror, anime, and gaming event in Canada. It started as a small comic book convention with about 1,500 fans, and it has grown into a major attraction, drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors. Fan Expo runs today and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Coming up, after more than a decade, a woman went to take her wedding dress out of its box only to find a shocking discovery. That story when we come back. A woman is hoping someone knows where her wedding dress is after an upsetting mistake.
She got married back in 2008, and about a week ago, she opened up the box she believed it was in for all this time. But as CTV's Spencer Turcott reports, someone else's dress was inside that box.
And my husband opened the box on that side, so I looked around like this.
It's been 16 years since Ashley Charette wore the wedding dress of her dreams.
My mother-in-law very nicely said that she would make it for me, and it was originally made out of a curtain.
And on August 6th, 2008, Ashley walked down the aisle in that gown.
My husband and I stayed for the following week for our honeymoon, and my mom took the dress home with her. I'd asked her to have it dry cleaned.
It stayed in the box, unopened, until last week when Ashley and her family were tidying up the house. They came across the box and her son asked to see it. So, the married couple opened it up, but what Ashley saw was someone else's dress.
And I said, "It's not my dress." And he laughed at me. He thought I was joking, but I just stood there. I can't even not be shocked now. I cried.
Ashley and her mother got to work right away, trying to track down where her dress could be. They contacted K Cleaners, where the dress was brought to originally. We gave them a call too.
It's about the wedding gown.
It is about the wedding gown. K Cleaners has been working with Ashley and her family trying to find it. Here's the catch. New owners took over in 2012 and their computer system was overhauled.
And after so much time and data collected in the computer, it gets purged, so there is no access to the old invoices.
Complicating matters further, Ashley's dress was preserved and vacuum sealed, work that K Cleaners outsources to Suede Master. That's where staff believe the switch happened. But the woman we spoke with says their owners and computer system also changed, so there's no paper trail.
My dress was roughly as long and made of satin.
Now Ashley just hopes her story spreads and she finds the person who is also missing their wedding dress.
Because it was important enough to her to have it cleaned in the first place.
That's not all. Ashley and her husband plan to renew their vows, but they want to do so with Ashley wearing the original gown.
I will wear that dress if I get it back, yeah.
So as she prepares to say I do once again, She's determined to say it only for her husband and not, "I do," to another dress. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Guelph.
Great story. Where would that dress be?
You know what? The power of the internet. You put anything out, people can usually find it.
That dress will be found, hopefully. But it's probably in someone else's box.
Yeah, you guys check your wedding dresses. If you're getting married outside this weekend, it will be fantastic.
Great weekend for a wedding.
Beautiful weekend for a wedding, or just, doing anything. The CNE, you don't have to get married this weekend. But I'm just saying, if you want to go outside and do anything, it'll be super, super nice. We have the heat, the sunshine returning, and more traditional summertime weather. Right now, not a ton going on in the satellite radar picture for us here in Southern Ontario. A good thing if you're maybe kicking off your weekend early. Sitting in the mid-20s, feeling into the upper 20s, and if you're heading out to the cottage, maybe take it off a little early, it will be fantastic. But it gets pretty humid, feeling into the low to mid-30s as we step throughout the weekend and in towards next week. So get out, enjoy it, but hydrate and put on some sun protection.
Good advice. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.